Hello everyone, it's me Dana from waitlisted.at.hogwarts, and today I am bringing you an interview with the author K.M. Robinson. K.M. Robinson has written the Golden Trilogy in the Jaded series, which in fact Jaded, which is the first book in the Jaded series, just came out this past Tuesday, so you can now get it in your stores. So I'm just going to jump right in because I sent her 12 questions and she sent me back the video clips for the answers to those questions. So this might be a rather long video. What genre would you love to write that you haven't written already or are potentially afraid to write?
If I could write in any genre that I have not written in yet, I would definitely say it would have to be historical fiction. I've always been a really big fan of it, and I have a number of friends who actually write in the genre, so I know how much work and research goes into it. But I think I would be absolutely terrified to try it because if I got even one tiny fact wrong, I feel like I would be called on it. I would be absolutely mortified, so definitely on the scary side, but something I would love to try.
What are your favorite places to write?
As far as where I'm writing, I tend to write wherever I happen to be. So if I'm on my lunch break, I'm writing on my iPad in a desk chair. I typically write at my dining room table in front of a big picture window so I can see outside and get lots of inspiration from the outdoors. I also write at a desk near my bed if it's late at night. But honestly, my favorite places to write happen to be where it's very inspirational and very scenic. So if I can get myself outside, I absolutely love hanging out near the water or near the trees. Anywhere where I can gain inspiration is going to be one of my favorite places to write. Unfortunately, I don't get outside very much because our weather's a little bit crazy here and it doesn't always permit me to get outside to work, but I love working in front of windows so that even if I can't be outside, I can see outside.
Where do you typically draw inspiration from for your characters and for your world building?
My inspiration tends to come from my photography. So I'm actually a professional fine arts photographer, and I spend a lot of time creating composite images where I'm creating these worlds that don't actually exist, and so many of these have influenced my stories. In fact, a number of times I've come up with concept art and cover art concepts way before I start writing any of the books that I'm creating. So a lot of it comes from the things that I'm creating over my photography, but I also tend to find things out in the world. As I'm driving down the street, maybe I'll see something, or as I'm walking and doing something, I'll notice something that catches my eye and I spin it and twist it into something completely different than it is and turn it into one of these stories. I definitely have had the opportunity to go out and see some really cool architecture, and that has inspired a lot of the world building that I create within my stories. So I get inspiration wherever I can, whether it's a song or being out in nature or a little tiny glimpse of something in a commercial that looks so cool and I twist totally and completely to create something new. But all of these things spark my imagination and create really great things that I can then implement into my stories.
If you could travel to any fictional place or world, where would you go?
If I could travel to any fictional world, I would definitely have to say it would be Narnia. C.S. Lewis did an amazing job creating this incredible world within his Narnia series, and I feel like I would absolutely love to spend time there with all the characters that he created in this amazing world.
Have any specific authors or books influenced your writing?
You know, there are a lot of really great authors that have impacted the way that I am writing my own stories, and I feel like a lot of them have given me permission to be a little more free in what I'm creating. Specifically, I love Veronica Roth because she had the courage to have the actual realistic ending. Her characters did not get this fluffy, happy ending that didn't exactly make sense just to have a happy ever after within her story, and I give her so much credit for going to that place and giving me permission to actually have those realistic endings within my own stories. So she's definitely someone who has strongly influenced how I am creating my characters and how I am dealing with the consequences of the actions within my story.
Have you always loved one specific genre, or has your reading taste changed over time?
I've always loved a number of genres, and I feel like over time that has expanded as I've learned more about these books and really dug into the book world and learned more about what makes each of these different types of books really, really important within the book community. And I feel like I've definitely expanded my tastes, but I've always stayed pretty true to my love for things like dystopian novels and retellings and historical fiction. So I'm definitely a big fan of what I really, really love, but I also make sure I take the time to bring in other genres that aren't necessarily on my top favorites list, and I found some amazing books within those genres, even if it's not my overall favorite genre. And I love that we have the ability to do that within the book world and really explore and find things in all genres that maybe we wouldn't like the entire genre, but there's definitely a handful of books that really stand out for us within that particular type of book.
If you were to pick one iconic villain to write their origin story, who would it be?
Now, I am a huge fan of villains. I love creating them, exploring them, portraying them, and I feel like we have a lot of really great retellings out there that really explain the background of some of these villains. And if I had the opportunity to create an origin story for one of these villains, I feel like I would have to go with the Sea Witch from The Little Mermaid. There's a lot out there about her, but I feel like she still has some untapped stories and some secrets that she's hiding, and I would love to get involved with learning who she was before The Little Mermaid came along and what happened to make her such a witch to The Little Mermaid.
What fairy tale, aside from Goldilocks because you already wrote Golden, would you choose to write a retelling for?
Aside from my Goldilocks retelling, I actually do have a number of fairy tale retellings in the works. Now, I can't tell you too much, these are top secret, but I will say that I have found some incredible, massive, twisted things to throw into these stories. And I do not do retellings unless I have these massive twists, these dark turns, and these unexpected things coming up within the story, so you know they're going to be really good. I usually work with the lesser known retellings because I don't want the same thing that everybody else is doing, but I will say I do have one really well-known fairy tale that I have put the biggest twist I have ever seen on it. Everybody that knows about it is talking about it and clamoring for it, and I cannot wait to release it to the world. So I do have some more obscure, lesser talked about fairy tale retellings in the works, and I do have that one big one that everybody knows, but do they really?
And now I'm moving on to more character-specific questions for her books Golden and Jaded, but they're fun and not spoilery in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, just pointing that out. If Jaded and or Golden were optioned for a movie or TV show, what actors and actresses would you cast to play the main characters?
If Golden or Jaded were optioned for a movie, I honestly have no idea who I would want to play my main characters. I typically don't think about actors and actresses because I did that with my very first book way back in the day, years and years ago when I wrote it, and I picked out the perfect actors for it, and at this point they've all aged out of that. So I feel like if I were going to pick actors to play the leads in my book, I would definitely end up having them aged out and have to pick all over again. So I tend not to think about it, but I love hearing people's opinions. So if you have an opinion on who should play my lead guys and lead girls within my stories, send them to me because I want to know exactly what you're thinking and see if it kind of lines up with what I was thinking about these characters.
I've mentioned over and over again that I get major Hunger Games vibes from your books. So if between Golden and Jaded, if all your characters were to be put into the Hunger Games, who would be the first to die and who do you think would be the victor?
I absolutely love this question because I am such a huge fan of the Hunger Games, and much like you, dear, I am a little bit dark of heart too. So throwing my characters into the arena would be rather interesting, and I feel like I would definitely have some people dying, and I might have some people surviving, and I may even have a victor in the mix. So I feel like, unfortunately, the first to die would probably be Roan. He's not quite as savvy as the rest of my characters. He's not as highly trained, even though he does have his training. Pretty sure Roan will be the first to go. Sorry, buddy. As for my victor, I'm pretty sure that would end up being Illyria from the Golden Trilogy because she has a lot of training, but she also has the support of people who are going to drag her to the top. Now, I'm pretty sure the bear is going to die somewhere along the way because he will take whatever is going to attack Illyria, and he will take that on himself and perish in the process. So we're going to have this situation where Shadow, Illyria's handler, is probably dragging her up to the top, and we are going to end up in a situation that's kind of Peeta Katniss-like, where they have to decide who's going to win, who's not going to win, how would they survive together. And I feel like Illyria is somehow going to come out on the top, and Shadow is not quite going to make it until the very, very end of the book. Now, I'm pretty sure Eden would have a relationship within the arena, kind of along the lines of Joanna from the Hunger Games. She's going to be very sarcastic, very loud, and I do not necessarily think Eden's going to make it all the way. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a downfall for her in there somewhere. And then we're going to have characters like Berwin and like Lucas and like some of the other characters within both of these stories who may or may not survive. I feel like some of them are going to get pretty far. Silas will get pretty far. Berwin will get pretty far. I even think Lucas will get fairly far within the games, but definitely not quite to the top. So I think it would be very interesting to throw my characters into the arena and really see how exactly they're going to survive.
What are each of your main characters' spirit animals?
This is actually a really hard question for me because I have absolutely no idea what my character's spirit animals would be, but I will say that I have written some animal symbolism into my series. My Golden Trilogy is my young adult retelling of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, so obviously I'm going to have to pick Bear for Dove and Eden and Berwin, who represent my baby bear, mama bear, and papa bear. But my villain in that story is named Lowell, and his name actually means wolf, and I did this to really represent who he was and his personality, so that's definitely a good tie-in for Lowell. Over in my Jaded duology, I have a scene called the butterfly scene. Now, I can't give away too much information about this because there's a lot going on in that scene, and it is just recently released, so a lot of people have not gotten to read that butterfly scene yet, so I can't give you details, but I will say the butterfly is an amazing representation of my main character, Jade. And I love writing the symbolism into my book because it really is such a cool thing to kind of be able to talk about with people and really hint about their personalities based on the animals that kind of represent them.
I have to read this one on my phone because it's really long. If somehow the characters in Jaded were able to cross dimensions into the universe of Golden, or the Golden characters traveled to the world of Jaded, you know, like one of those, how do you think the characters in Jaded would react/interact with those in Golden and vice versa? So basically, what would the character dynamics be between the two books?
This is really interesting because if I could take the characters from Golden and drop them into the world of Jaded, I feel like Dove and Illyria are going to have quite an interesting reaction. They are coming from a place where the society is going after everyone, but they also have warring factions within the society, and they are being dropped into a world where one dictator is going after one girl, and everything else is not quite as bad as it was over in their world. And yes, there's a lot going on in Jaded. A lot of people are suffering, but not the way they are from the society over in Golden. So I feel like Dove and Illyria are going to think that Jade and Roan have it way easy compared to what we are going through over in Golden. Now, if I had the opportunity to drop my Jaded characters into Golden, I'm pretty sure that Jade and Roan are going to be really overwhelmed because there's a lot going on. Within the world of Jaded, they are dealing with one man going after one person. And over in Golden, they are going to have to be dealing with the society, with the different groups that are coming after them. There's a lot of espionage and deceit and a lot of death over in Golden, and they are just not prepared for this world. So I feel like they're going to be pretty shocked at what they find over in the world of Golden. But I would love to have this crossover because I feel like Illyria and Jade are pretty much the same girl. They both have this attitude and this snarkiness, and they're really highly trained. They're super, super smart, and they are very, very driven to protect the people around them. And I feel like if they were to end up in the same place, they would be really, really good friends. Now, Roan and Dove and Silas and Smarmy and some of the other characters I'm not necessarily sure would get along so well because they are pretty different. They have very different viewpoints on things. I can't really get into too much detail because you have to meet these characters first because spoilers are involved here, but I'm not necessarily sure they would be the best of friends. And I feel like it would be very interesting to see the guys kind of interact with each other and figure out how to survive in one or both of these worlds. So I love the idea of having a Golden Jaded crossover. Unfortunately, they are in very different worlds and they are not going to have a book crossover, but I have had some really cool crossovers in my fan art. So I've had some amazing people draw pictures of my characters together, which makes my heart so happy. I absolutely love it because we are not going to get that within the written world. So it's kind of cool to see how that would cross over and fit into each other's worlds. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been so fun. And I really love the questions you asked. You really made me think hard, and I cannot wait to do this again. I'm K.M. Robinson, author of the Golden Trilogy and the Jaded Duology, and you can hang out with me over on my website, www.kmrobinsonbooks.com, or you can hit me up on social media at KM Robinson Books on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. Can't wait to connect with you.
So thank you so much, K.M. Robinson, for being featured in this video. I totally had fun coming up with these questions, and I hope to do more interviews in the future because this was really fun. And maybe next time I can get a live thing going on so we can do it that way. But it was really fun to work with K.M. Robinson for this video. Her book, Jaded, just came out this past Tuesday, so make sure you check it out and stay tuned for a book talk that is coming your way soon. I am going on a trip to Seattle this next week, but I'm hoping to film and get it out during that time, and if not, it'll be up right after I get back. So stay tuned for that book talk because it is on its way, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So if you liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, If you have any questions or comments about Jaded, or you are excited to read the book, go ahead and leave that down below because I would love to know. And make sure to click the bell to get notifications for when I'm posting videos. And if you're not yet subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can see when I'm posting more videos. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon with another video. Bye!